Good morning, because it's 6 AM in late June as I record this, and welcome to Dorset. This is the preamble for a series that I'm planning on woodlands in Britain. Basically, recently I've been actually looking at woodlands in this area, looking for overstood and derelict hazel coppice. Basically a call went out from the, I can't remember what they're called. Anyway, UK Coppice Group, looking for information on where remaining woodlands that have been coppiced in the past, and could be coppiced in the future, actually are. Coppice has been going on in Britain for 3,000 plus years and could form a very important part of our future nature conservation strategy. However, a lot of the remaining coppiced woodlands are small. As you can see here, there's a lot of woodland around, certainly in southern and western England. And a lot of the woodlands are scattered, isolated by areas of arable cropping. There's a woodland here, another one there. And if you look into the sun, hopefully it'll pick it up. A woodland there, which is overstood coppice. Behind it, one over there. There's more around in the area which I know from my travels in this area. This is the area where I live. On derelict or overstood hazel coppice. But in wandering around looking at woodlands, I found all sorts of woodland types, and I thought it'd be a good idea to actually document some of these, take you with me on my trips, and actually show you the differences between the woodland types. So if you're out and about in the British countryside, you can actually identify those for yourself, because not all woodlands are the same. A wood is not a wood is not a wood. Geology makes a difference, landform makes a difference. Whether it's on the banks of a stream makes a difference, whether it's on the side of a hill makes a difference. Also, past land use, as you can see from this view here, man has left a huge imprint on the British Isles. There is no such thing, for instance, as primary woodland, woodland that's never been felled, never been grubbed up, never been ploughed. Even ancient woodland in this country, that is woodland that's been here from 1600 or before, has probably been at least felled and has probably been grubbed up and been agriculture and then reverted for various reasons to woodland. If we look around here, we can see a whole lot of different landscapes and landforms. Over in the distance, you see the far skyline? That's all chalk. In here we have a whole variety of different tertiary rocks. Our back is to the Purbeck Coast, which is the Jurassic Heritage Coast. More rocks again. Over in these woodlands here, you can see where the pylons run along. There's been a lot of extractive industries. Over here, you see a little bit of forestry. And more forestry on the middle skyline. And then over here, this has probably never been dug up. In here, looking into the sun, you can see an area which is currently being land raised. There's trucks going in there all the time. They're bringing in a whole variety of different materials. Whether that's overt or covert, I've no idea. We'll go and have a look at a bit of that later on, because there are some woodlands in there which are overstood coppice and I believe ancient. Part of one of those has recently been felled. And over here into the sun, we might have a look at this on the way home. I'm off to work at the moment. We'll see another part of landform and geology. There's areas of heathland. They're nature reserves and sites of special scientific interest, which is one of Britain's most important designations for nature conservation in this area over here. Right, so talk to you later. Possibly going into our first woodland, which is that woodland down there. And there we are, just a little further west along the same ridge on a different day. Not been able to get up here to shoot this little section, But it's a lovely soft summer morning, nice and warm, and you can see all the mist is lying, all the little hollows over there. We were over that way, and you can still see with the eye of faith the middle ground ridge, all the forestry on it. You can't see the chalk ridge beyond it, but this sort of highlights all the little ridges with all the woodland on it. So you can see that woodland of various sorts makes up a huge part of this landscape. In the foreground here, you've got this little woodland here, which is derelict coppice, and in here you've got another woodland just the other side of the road, just here, if we get it in line with the lens. That's derelict coppice. Used to be a banger track just out of sight in front of this woodland. Don't know if you saw that car go through, but that's also derelict coppice. And I suspect many of these other woodlands that you can't see from a road, there is a road that goes along there, are also derelict coppice. So coppicing was a huge part of the countryside and the life of the countryside, and some of it survived. And the question is going to be whether that should be brought back, whether it has a part in any future nature conservation strategy, including things like rewilding. Because if you go with a rewilding idea, it will be kind of nice to connect areas on this chalk all the way through here with areas on the sands and gravels over there, which is heathland. You can just see the bluish building over there, that's Winfrith, and that's on Winfrith Heath, which at least part of that's triple SI, Site of Special Scientific Interest. And looking over further into the west, sorry, the east, into the east, this is north, this is east, you'll see along the skyline there, there's a lot of forestry, all sort of slightly pointy looking and darker green, so that's all conifers which have been planted. But even in there, there's remnants of old woodland. There's a subset in woodlands classification which is plantationised ancient woodlands, and those are woodlands which have been present since before 1600 and have been planted over without being grubbed out or ploughed with conifers, usually conifers. Occasionally, rarely, they've been planted over with broadleaves. And in the video series there's at least one woodland that's been planted over with broadleaves, or planted underplanted with broadleaves, and another which has been planted with conifers, larch, and which has grown back. There's another woodland in Chessington which I know very, very well, and had been plantationised back in Victorian times, and as such was missing from the Surrey Ancient Woodland Inventory, even though it was quite a large woodland for many years. And you could still see occasional remnants of that in senescent Scots pines, which were still present in the wood, most of which were dying because they got so old. But even in that forestry over there, there's an area of coppice which I'll take you and show you. But the countryside and the woodlands in it are constantly changing. For instance, this woodland here, just saw the white car go through in front of my finger, and that car there, part of that has recently been felled out. Why, we don't know. And that area around it, you can see it's all slightly browner than a lot of the countryside in the similar sort of distance. That's all been land raised. They've been importing material into there ever since I've been in this area, and lorries are still going in and out of there all the time. So that's evolving, that's changing. So we'll go for a look over in there, and then further on in time we'll show you other woodlands in the area, take you in for a little quick look so you can see different types of woodland, because there doesn't seem to be very much available how to recognise a woodland and how to walk through it just as an ordinary lay person and look at some of the signs and symptoms of what you're seeing and some of the history. I'm an anorak. I really like woodlands, I really like trees, and if you go looking with a little bit of knowledge, you can surmise quite a lot of the history of the countryside you're walking through, and I think that makes it more interesting. I hope you do too, and I hope that makes a good introduction to a little series. Thank you very much. Right, we're leaning on a gate by a road, looking across the field at this long area of forestry on top of this ridge, which goes out of sight behind this hedge. That's where we're going next. See all the conifer trees, all sort of pointy. And at first glance from a distance you think that is all forestry, but there's a bit in there which is old coppice and possibly ancient. Let's go and have a look at that now.